Morning, the sun was shining. He was laying in bed, just wondering if she had changed at all, if her hair was still red. Her folks, they said her life's together. She sure was gonna be rough. You never like Mama's homemade breads. Papa's bank book wasn't big enough. Standing by the side of the road, rain falling on my shoe. Heading out for the East Coast, Lord knows I've paid my dues. Coming through, tangled up and blue. She was married when they first met, soon to be divorced. She helped her out of a jam, I guess, but it was a little too much for her. They drove that car as far as they could, abandoning it out west. They stood upon the docks that night, both agreed and it was best. She turned around to look at him as he was walking away. Heard him say over my shoulder, I'll meet again someday on the avenue. Tangled up in blue. He got a job in Old North Woods, working as a cook for a spell, but he never did like it all that much. One day the axe just fell. So I drifted down to LA, where I'm employed, working for a while on a fishing boat outside Delacroix. Oh, while I was alone, the past had closed behind. I seen a lot of women, she never escaped my mind, and she just flew. Tangled up in blue. I walked into his deathless bed. She was working in a topless place. I stopped in for a beer. I just kept looking at the side of her face in the spotlight so clear. And later on, as the crowd thinned out, I was just about to do the same. She was standing there in back of my chair. I said, tell me, I don't know your name. But it's something underneath my breath. She studied the lines on my face. I must admit, I felt a little uneasy when she bent down to tie the laces on my shoes. Tangled up in blue. She lit a burner on the stove and offered me a pipe. Thought you'd never say hello, she said you look like the silent type. She opened up a book of poems and handed it to me. It was written by an Italian poet from the 13th century. And every one of her words rang true and flowed like burning coal, pouring off of every page like it was written in my soul for me to you. Tangled up in blue. to get to her somehow. All the people we used to know, they're an illusion to me now. Some are mathematicians, some are doctors' wives. I don't know how it all got started, don't know what they're doing with their lives. I'm still on the road, I'm heading for another joint. We always did feel the same, we just saw it from a different point. Thank you. My voice is a bit hoarse there, so I'm not sure how that came across. Probably fairly bad as normal. I'm going to blame my guitar and my voice, so I'm not going to blame the song because it's a pretty good song. Anyone who's heard it before knows that, and anyone who hasn't, I suggest you take a listen to it. It's beautiful combination of lyrics, music, guitar, harmonica. He slips the harmonica in. I don't play that song with harmonica now, but yeah, my voice isn't up to it, so my guitar as well is not the best, so I hope it came across okay anyway, and it wasn't too much of a punishment to have to listen to that. How you doing? Greetings, friends. Let me just change the settings back to voice. Yeah, cool. Bank holiday Monday here in Ireland, just coming to a close. Isn't it amazing the days we get off for places of employment are all dictated to us by the church, religious organizations, and the financial organizations. That should tell you a lot there. All intricately connected, of course, all of the institutions, major institutions, across the board, make no bones about it. You know, I received my own cap and gown, you know, just why? Well, you just did it, you know, this, well, you know, you're going to graduate, so you need a cap and gown. Well, you know, I've had my time again, of course, but yeah, all part and parcel of the same superstructure. Fuck it, I'm looking at Internet Explorer avatar there with the E, the icon. So that's a G. That's an encoded G in the mirror, you know, it flipped and turned upside down. I think I figured out what the G is as well. Friends, the G and the square and compass. So we can talk about that a little. I'm not going to stay on for too long. Just came on to have a little chat, really. I should go on to YouTube and just pay my respects to anybody who might be there. And if there's no one there, I'll pay my respects to no one, you know. So how do I do that? Oh, yeah, just go into live. Yeah, ever nearer. Yeah, why did I entitle it? Flat Earth and other. Oh, that sounds good. Okay, the sound is coming to clear. Flat Earth and other crumbled cookies, all tangled up in blue. Obviously, tangled up in blue, reference to the Bob Dylan song there at the start. I think we're all tangled up in fucking blue, aren't we? And I spelled blue purposefully, incorrectly, if you will. So yeah, just tuned into the chat. How you doing, Mark, Billy? Nice to see you. And Mum is here. How you doing, Mum? Haven't seen you around in a while, actually, buddy. I'm worried about you. Not so much, of course. How can I worry about a name? But yeah, good to see you. Pure Matrix. Yeah, I've seen you around, buddy. Yeah. Anyone wants to come on to have a chat? Just let me know in chat here. I keep a sort of an eye on it, although I don't really normally do it when I'm chatting to somebody, you know. But maybe I should a bit more. But yeah, if anyone fancies a chat, just let me know, and I can either send it through the Hangouts or some other way. Who else is here? Yeah, so I don't know you, Pure Matrix. If you have a different name that I maybe recognize, that's something. And I'd say hello to Coffee Enema. That sounds good. Yes, okay, you sounded like a dodo scratching a blackboard. That's cool, man. I mean, listen, I don't care about these things anymore. I was singing that for myself as well, just to let it out. So it doesn't affect me. You can think what you like. You don't have to be here. You don't have to listen to it. Or if you don't want to hear me, if you want to hear me speaking and not playing the guitar, then I guess you can just press the mute button. So for me, you're just a name, and it's fine. Even if it was in person, even, you know, you would come along and say, yeah, that was all right, even if it was shit, because that's just the way you behave in person. So I tend to behave the same way in person as I do in this type of hangout or similar. So maybe it's too much of me to expect that from everyone, but yeah, that's fine. But honesty is good as well, of course. I guess if you just think something is shit, it's just tactful not to say it. And of course, yeah, I'm well used to hearing my own voice and my own guitar. So I already made a disclaimer afterwards. So you can't say anything that would sort of bring me down or affect me, you know. So I'm not too worried about that. There's enough people around these environs, this type of meeting place, that will put you down at every hand's turn. So you want to be sort of thick-skinned and strong-willed. If you're going to put yourself forward in any sense, anyway, you'll find that most of the people who will throw and sling the shit, usually nameless, faceless people who, you know, again, wouldn't dream of behaving that sort of way in person. You know, so what are you supposed to do? Get upset about these ghosts? No. Of course, we all do at one stage, but as you progress through it, you have to just deal with it, realize that it is the reality, it is the arena we're in, and just move on. You know, a comment got me into a little bit of trouble, not really like, but it got me into a little bit of trouble when I said that you learn more from these people. I'll clarify what I mean by these people, but by what they won't talk about, as opposed to what they will. What I meant by that was, and I thought I made myself clear as well, was that we're aware that this is a charged arena. You know, we're aware there's many dramas around, and it's very difficult to know who to trust. It's very difficult to know which sort of information or which sort of personality, if you will, we should follow or give our time to. You know, and especially as time goes on, we see that it becomes more and more murky. And that's just the nature of the beast, if you will. So again, in terms of a personal investigation or a personal journey, that's how that was applied. So if you suspect somebody of being a plant, an agent of disinformation, however you want to, an actor, I call them, an actor being someone who's coming onto this arena with a role to play, and that role is fixed and set. And they can't go beyond it. That's what I mean by an actor. It's never any judgment against the man or the woman, because I don't know them, and I wouldn't be entitled to judge anyway, I don't think. But it is calling out someone as an actor, as not being genuine on the stage where we're on. So that's that's where that comment applied to. So when you're trying to sort of use your critical mind and discern who's who and what's what, yeah, then you can apply these criteria, and you learn more about what people won't talk about over what they will. So you don't have to apologize to me ever, Mum. You're not late for anything anyway. I just said I'd start this up, and let me just what do you call that chat here? Pop out chat, because I dare say no one likes looking at themselves. I don't hate looking at myself. I'm well used to it on camera, or not on screen here, but yeah, you don't have to apologize, Mum. I just started one up, really, just to sing a song. I might sing another few more songs again. It's the end of the bank holiday here, and back to normal routine tomorrow. Everyone's been bombarded all weekend with just reminder of fake terror, and it's fake terror upon fake terror, And what are we to do? What are we to do? This is getting difficult. It's already difficult enough in real life. When you suggest to someone that all may not be as has been reported, and it might be advisable just to look into the possibility that you're being tricked, well, then you're a demon. You're an insane lunatic nut job, which is alien thinking, really, isn't it? I mean, how do we discern anything? But yeah, this seems to be the view of the vast majority. I'm thinking, obviously I can't speak for everyone, but I can see how it works, and they're bombarded. It's like 9/11. They're bombarded with reminders on a constant basis of planes crashing and buildings collapsing. So that narrative sinks into you and into your subconscious, into your brain, into your being. And when someone comes along to question it, then they're engaged in some sort of high strangeness. Their brains have malfunctioned in some fashion, because the story is clear, the truth is clear. How could so many news agencies, governments worldwide be in on the lie that you're suggesting? This is beyond reason, beyond measure, So from that point of view, you can see how this mass brainwashing works, you know what I mean? And I think ultimately the plan is always to divide the enemy, if you want to put it in those terms. To divide them, you have to divide them within their families. This is where if you can shatter that piece, then you have a completely non-functioning force that is potentially to scupper your plans. That's one way of looking at it. And I can definitely see that sort of tactic at play here, again, bombarded all the time, just consistently now in every TV. I don't watch television, I don't listen to the radio, but I do get a chance to overhear it sometimes, and it's just the same sort of stuff, you know what I mean? We no longer require any proof or any investigation now. No discussion is compromising any potential future court case. We don't hear about any of that sort of stuff, I was thinking about the benefit gig that went up for the victims of Manchester fake terror. And it went up in a wet week, think about the parents. So there's a question I asked today. Think about the parents. So there you are, your child is after to be blown to bits, 8 years of age or whatever. Here it is, a wet week later, you're just barely after burying your child, and you turn on the television, there's a big fundraiser. So lots of moolah coming your way, not that you care about that in real circumstances. But then you turn on the television, and there you have all of these scantily clad, celebrities and musicians and singers up on stage singing usually about fucking sex and bitches and all this sort of stuff. And yeah, that's going to cheer you up no end, isn't it? You're going to say, okay, look, I'm sad about my child being blown to bits, at random, but fuck it, look, that they're thinking of us anyway. What a great way to show your respect. Well, you see, no, these things as well don't just pop up like that. And actually, there's a sort of an interest, and I don't give a fuck anymore, because I know we'll get into the nitty gritties, but it'd be interesting if you maybe research some of the bands that I don't even who was there at Manchester gig. I think Oasis made a show, but beyond that, I don't know. But it'd be interesting to see were any of these gigs or bands pre-booked, what I mean, for the date in question. But yeah, this is how they sink into the heads of the masses, the reality of the situation. It's just too big to contemplate that our change could be being yanked. It's too big. So therefore, anyone who mentions that possibility, and I think you're bound to mention it. I'm sick of this fucking talk now. That I'm not interested in that area stuff. No, this is nonsense. We're men first, you know what I mean? So we're interested in our reality. We're after finding out that our reality has been fabricated for the most part, and this is news that's in our face. It's been pushed at us and our loved ones, our friends, our families, everybody. It's pushed at us as truth. When even a cursory examination will tell you that you're dealing with nonsense. You know, it's I don't know how to express it in words anymore. It's not rocket science. It's not chess. You know, we're dealing with here. When you see the indicators. And you make the call, you know, then you have to stand by it. And this is where I think flat earthers are lacking. We need to all come together on these different and sundry topics. You know what I mean? These are all playing in tandem with these lies are in tandem with the other lies that are being presented to us. So to just isolate one aspect, say flat Earth, even for instance, and of course that's why flat Earth in the title, not to. This is only aimed at flat earthers, really. If you're not a flat earther, these type of talks would be relevant to you, or you know, you wouldn't be able to relate to them in any way. But yeah, this is where I feel we need to unite. Like this is our lives. Our lives just don't consist of one aspect of their brainwashing. You know, it consists of many different aspects. So as truthers, as moving from day to day, and different scenarios come up, we have to deal with them and call them for what they are. And that's where I think, you know, there is a division within flat Earth. Flat Earth is infiltrated. You'll find people going, I'm not interested in that. I haven't looked at that yet. These sort of flimsy excuses. And when there's no excuses for it. I knew Sandy Hook was a hoax within 10 minutes. Political hillbilly spent years, you know, putting all this work in, and many others have as well, going through every single detail of the narrative, the false fake narrative that's been fed us, you know, and shown it to be inconsistent in so many different fashions. Well, you know, again, within 10 minutes, I knew this, you know, and what do you do with that? I don't know. What do you do with that? That's why I see a lot of flat Earth channels now are sort of dwelling on NASA. Yeah, I mentioned this as well. Look, we know NASA are full of rubbish, you know, that's been known for the longest of times. What's the point in keep talking about that, you know? It's very limited. So again, I'm concerned about the people who will not go beyond these bounds. And it almost seems like it's a dirty word now to mention fakery, media fakery, victim fakery. It's almost a dirty word, man. It's almost a dirty word. Both ISA and anyone who's listening will understand why I'm harping on this. Both ISA and Haunted House, who were both apparently witnesses to 9/11, they were there in New York on the day. They don't want to hear any talk about media fakery or victim fakery. They find the whole notion ridiculous. As I said to Haunted House, Jonathan, the other day, you should be the fucking first. All things being above board, you should be the first to be looking into this, man. You want to take in all information and come out with the truth. This is what it's about, you know. I don't say that you have to say that media fakery is the truth. But one thing I do know is that when we look at evidence to show us the impossible, we can call media fakery on it. So I mean, I'm not going to take it for granted that you're dumb, you know, you're stupid, you can't reasonably work your way through a situation, you know, especially when it's contaminated and loaded with so many inconsistencies, anomalies, etc., impossibilities. So yeah, again, all red flags going up. And when I call out actors as well, that doesn't mean in my own brain that there's nothing to be gained from interacting with people, you know, with these people. I don't say that. And I heard Pancho Pete saying earlier on that I said he was an actor. No, I didn't. No, I didn't, Pete. I never said that. If I was certain, or if I really thought you were an actor, I would have called you out as an actor. I've been calling out everyone else. I know Zulu One is an actor. I know Wesley is an actor. I know Brian is an actor. I know Candy is an actor. I know Von Helton is. I know, you know, I know a lot of people that are around you are actors. But do I think that you are? No. If I thought you were, as I said, I would have called you out. So no, don't misquote me, or don't put words in my mouth. I never said that. with your channel, it seemed to turn against me. Vincent was, and I'm not calling Vincent out as an actor either. I'm calling Antonio out as an actor, and Vincent has associations with Antonio, of course, as do many others. But him in sort of the more the production aspects of things. So a call had to be made, and I had to go, and that's fine as well. I don't mind that. I don't take anything back. You know, I think it's a bit chilly the way I was set up, but that's fine as well. Sorry, this is just a punch repeat as well, because again, I heard him saying today that I called him an actor and I didn't. There are lots of suspicious things, Pete, but we all have things that people can be suspicious about. You know what I mean? That's not making any definite call, and there might be perfectly reasonable and truthful explanations to everything. We don't know each other personally, and so yeah, there's always ifs and buts, and there's always doubts. You know, but I never called you an actor, and I think you are. No, I don't. But I do think that there's more to the story. So I will leave it there, you know. And regarding how I exposed myself, and that's another thing I have to make Taylor Rain of Fire. I have the look of a pedophile, apparently. I have the look of a pedophile, Mick. Would you say that to anyone face to face? You know, just not out of any fear or anything, but just, you know, that's such a big statement to make, you know. I trust you'll be man enough, if you're listening, to come along and say this to me, and show yourself on camera when you're saying something like that to a man, because I don't think there's any sort of worse thing you can really say, actually. Well, and not about that you have the look of a pedophile, but yeah, you know, that you are a pedophile, it would be worse, you know. But anyway, yeah, I wouldn't dream of doing or saying these sort of things to anybody else. So this is all on the back of what me calling out people, me saying that people are acting. Zulu One came along and explained himself that he's fucking has associations with the law enforcement still, and if my memory serves me, he was dealing as some sort of liaison between flat earthers and law enforcement. Now, he was a character who was one of the very first to ring in Mark Sargent's show. Right. Now, when I call, Billy, when I say Brian, I don't mean Brian in Dublin. There's another Brian. I can't think of his second name. He wears a hat. He's a military man as well. He admits he's still on the military paycheck. He gets a paycheck. So again, these people are telling you. So if you're kind of going to say, well, we can't ask questions based on what we're going to upset some sensibilities when they're telling you all of this stuff. Get the fuck out of here, guys. We haven't come this far to be dictated to like this. This is about putting your mind into a little box like this, you know, and having you on tender hooks when you peek out, you know, can I go out here? Can I say this? No. These people are presenting you this information in the first place. They need to be questioned. I think, you know, what are these hangouts? What's going on here? Don't we take it that, you know, everyone is above board? But if there's questions and qualms, then we have to ask those questions. And I'm definitely open to being asked questions. I've heard lots of stuff thrown at me throughout the time, mostly just from the ballers, you know, who are all about demoralization, but obviously amongst flat earthers as well. Isa said he wants to punch my face in, like for talking about 9/11 media and victim fakery. Now, he's all cozying up friends with IPS and who says pretty much exactly the same. I say it from the point of view of the actual research, right? When you research the possibility, you find that there's so much information and research done on it that, you know, it becomes an inevitable conclusion. That's where I'm coming from. IPS seems to brush it off and say, well, it's sort of the way you'd imagine it. It's the easiest way it's done, you know, or it's sort of like the way to do these things without kind of recommending any links, research links, any sort of places you can go to brush up on your research. So again, this is inconsistent, and it's you know, it stinks actually. So again, red flags all around, and you know, when it comes to these things in Manchester, again, all our children, I don't care who you are, you have either direct family, you have direct children, you have grandchildren, you have nieces, nephews, I don't care, you have friends, children who are being bombarded with this fake terror, you know, and that's gone into the psyche. This is changing children's way of looking at both the world outside, first of all, and then themselves necessarily. And this is the real abuse. This is the real terror, you know. We have someone in England who is a man dressed as a fucking woman. No one wants to speak about it again. Why does no one want to speak about this? Why aren't all the people who are doing all of these trans investigations picking on Theresa May, Jungle Surfer? I call on you, Jungle Surfer. John Humanity, I call on you. Dave Johnson, calling you, man, and all the rest. E3000. Why aren't you doing Theresa May is a man dressed as a woman? After all, I mean, she could be described as one of the most powerful women in the world, having the position of the, what do you call it, the Prime Minister of England, you know? So what's the reluctance here? Again, it's the clearest example of a man dressed as a woman yet, you know? So this should be top priority. And also we have sort of, again, it's all fabricated, her history and her story, but she is connected to a potential pedophile cover-up scandal in England. So if people knew, imagine women knew that there was a man dressed as a woman getting fucking child rapists off, you know, because of her position, and her being a vicar's daughter as well. You see the irony here. This is how they rub it in your face, like, you know. But again, that these people aren't being exposed by people who do this type of exposing. Yeah, that's red flags, man. And I don't know why this hasn't sort of caught on more. We have another guy here in Ireland now, who's by the name of Leo Varadkar. And he's sort of egging for a top position as well. And he's openly homosexual. He came on the scene. You know, he's late in the ways, but when Ireland voted on gay marriage there, yeah, he came on the scene and came out of the closet for it, all in terms of support. Can I just ask about the, okay, well, I was talking to, okay, I haven't been looking at the chat. Mom, you know, whoever's using the wrench, honestly, can we keep it to, if I have to read still have to read these comments now, I keep it to an absolute minimum, although I see, Mom, I see some of the, it is a problematic thing, isn't it? I definitely don't like the wrench though, but I mean, we saw the likes of Mark Taylor and even Mick Lassay wouldn't let go of the Stephen, what do you call it? The Stephen Bradley stuff. You know, I'm looking at it now. I come to suspect, already probably suspected that Stephen was an actor on the stage as well, and this is about discredit by association. But as regards to bringing it to me and persisting in it, you can understand that from Mark Taylor. You know, he'll just cling to anything. But then Mick Stillwater, yeah, just persisted as well. So I banned them because they wouldn't give it up. I asked them to give it up. Asked them to come on and talk about it if they wanted. But otherwise, I really don't like the wrenches being used. And I would think only if it's in extreme cases like that. But again, I see tinfoil hatter, the usual suspects are around. So yeah, just please bear that in mind, Mom, will you? And be as light-handed as you can. So I'll trust you on that one. But yeah, I was, yeah, that's why I don't like looking at the chat here as well. But yeah, so you have these characters then as well, you know, telling our children in one form or another that, look, as you're developing, experiment around. Mess around with boys or girls. It doesn't matter, you know. You live YOLO. You only live once, you know. You know, this is what it's all about. So, you know, these are disgraceful characters, really are. They're pushing for fake terror. They're all aware of it, and they're all playing their part in it. Now, what the fuck are we going to do? That's the question. What the fuck are we going to do? The only way I see that, and again, this is what happens now. One of the stabbers from London on Saturday is from Ireland or came over from Ireland, and people are not asking the right questions anyway. Let's assume it is real. well, how did these people get in here? Well, they've been let in here. Okay, they're refugees from the wars that was on terror in the first place. Okay, you know, so none of these questions are being asked. What will happen then is the legal name will be restricted even further. You know what I mean, in terms of the freedoms. But how much freedom can a legal name have in the first place? I mean, a legal name is a dead fictional entity, and the creator of that legal name can place any restrictions it likes on its own creation. Your creator has given you unalienable, natural, fundamental rights that cannot be taken or given away. So, but that's only as man. We have to know who we are, and yeah, this is always the problem. This is the system we're living in, you know. And how do we deal with this knowledge? When I talk about what I talk about, I'm not telling everyone to drop everything to do. I'm just saying that this is a fact. These are facts, you know. This is 9/11 media fakery and victim fakery are facts, you know. The legal name fraud is a fact, you know. Flat Earth, fact. You know, this is all verifiable and provable by adequate research. And yeah, what's the point in knowing the Earth is flat? This is what I'm thinking. What's the point in knowing the Earth is flat when, let's say you can't see through the likes of the Manchester terror? You know, what's the point? And this is my own thinking. What's the point in seeing through the Manchester terror when you don't know about the legal name fraud? You know, again, this is all our individual journey. And if you're on the road to truth, looking for truth and looking for you know, answers, then all of it comes into play. You can't just isolate some of it and deal with that and leave the rest of it go, you know. Meanwhile, life, this life they've carved out for us goes on all around us, and yeah, we see how that is, you know. It's crazy. It's literally bizarro world, and it gets more bizarre with each passing day, you know. I heard someone mention today that things are after getting really strange. I agree. I predicted this as well. I said it's, you know, after the Oroville Dam, it's kicked off, you know. So weeks will bring changes sometimes, and we're seeing many changes. Again, I don't like the changes on flat Earth myself. Going back to times that have already been done to death, you know. The bowlers are creeping back into conversation, so people are going over the same arguments that have been gone over for months, and if not years gone by at this stage, you know. So one thing you'll realize is, well, many of these bowler antagonists, you'll never see their face. You'll never fucking see their face. I busted Millennium. I busted Negator the other night as Near. He was on You've Been Exposed as Near. Near is supposed to be a 15-year-old child, you know, which clearly he's not. And I knew it was Look a Pig, but I didn't know Look a Pig was also negatory. But again, if you have an ear, you can hear these things, you know. It's not just one thing. It's the cadence, the idiosyncrasies. It's the sort of the little expressions used. So again, actors everywhere. You know, some of these people are playing 3 and 4 roles, and you never get to see their faces, you know. So yeah, this is the point. And you're always, like, see the Derp Hunter there. He was over at the, let me put the Derp Hunter, let me put that link that I was and let's see your response to that. Actually, I'm going to put the link in here, and yeah, so that's the reality on flat Earth here, and I know it's the fucking reality. This is like back on the conspiracy forums now, that you it's exactly the same way, you know. It's in terms of flat Earth discussion, you have a sort of reunification now of all sides. The flat Earthers and the ball Earthers are mixing in together again, and they're getting involved in each other's shit, you know. Thanks a lot. There's a few characters who are ICE as a part. He's a sort of man in the middle here. Nathan Oakley's another man in the middle. They're all friends with the likes of Tim Osman. They're not friends as such, but, you know, Jeremy. They're all on good terms with these people, and you know, I'm the enemy then when I start asking about fake terror or stuff like that. You see, this is the problem. So I think that these guys are gatekeepers for this. And yeah, you know, the earth is flat, people. The earth is stationary. This is what Newton is all about. This is what Einstein is all about. Is if the earth is moving, then they're using their equations and their mental faculties to work out a mechanism behind what we're seeing if the earth is moving, right? But if the earth isn't moving, what then? Well, it's been proven that the earth doesn't move. Then the ball doesn't enter the equation. Full stop. Simple as. So anything to do with a spinning ball out the window, it's pointless to debate a fantasy, an unreality. So that's where we're at. But by continually doing this, continually doing it, well, the sun, you can see the ballers doing, well, the sun behaves like this, so therefore the earth is flat. No, it isn't, because you haven't described what the sun is. You haven't described the boundary conditions within everything, within which everything is at play. No, so it doesn't work like that. And again, yeah, fundamentally, the earth is not moving, the ball is dead before it even was birthed, because the earth is not moving. And this is known. This is where the dodo comes in. And you'll like this one, Mum, if you didn't hear me mention it to Dell last conversation. I'll mention it again. The dodo is the real representation of the continental arrangements on the flat earth. Since I'm going to call it the inundation, where the whole face of the earth changed, you know, and yeah, that is well known and well encoded as well. And one of the points I mentioned to Dell last week, I knew Radiohead, and again, Mom, you'll appreciate this, and if you've heard it, I'll tell it again anyway, but I knew Radiohead were insiders, right, because they had, they're flat earthers as well. I knew that separately, but yeah, Kid A, their album Kid A, was released in 2000, but it was the actual soundtrack to the 102-minute movie that was presented to us as reality and live on 9/11, right? So in other words, what was presented to us was pre-prepared, at least a year in advance or whatever, however many, you know, so the music was written with this 102-minute movie in mind, and it syncs up absolutely perfectly. They're just type in Kid A and a 9/11 movie or something into Google. I can put up a link if anyone requests one, but anyway, that's not the point. Yeah, it synchronizes absolutely and completely, and yes, it's a reality. Now, song number 10 on that album, which happened to be my favorite song beforehand, not knowing any about it. I listened to Radiohead, not knowing anything about their connection here, but happened to be my favorite song. But its name was Motion Picture Soundtrack. So once I found out about this connection, all made sense, you know what I mean. Let me go to the words briefly, actually. I'm going to sing it, actually. I'm going to sing it. I'll sing it, I'll speed it up slowly. White wine, sleeping good, help me get back to your arms. Cheap sex and sad films help me get where I belong. I think you're crazy, baby. I think you're crazy, baby. Stop sending letters. Letters always return. It's not like the moon movies. They fed us on little white lies. I think you're crazy, baby. I think you're crazy, baby. So that tells you a lot, those first two verses. But in the song, they leave out this verse, right? And this is very interesting as well. Beautiful angels are torn apart. Limbless and lifeless, I hardly recognize you. I think you're crazy, crazy. I think you're crazy, I will see you in the next life. Motion picture soundtrack. Last song number 10 from Kid A. And it tells you everything, you know. So anyway, yeah, interesting that they left out that last verse. Beautiful angels torn apart at birth, limbless and lifeless, I hardly recognize you. Again, I think this ties into the greater picture, the greater game that's going on here, and down to the true natures of ourselves. So yeah, here's getting to the point. So I knew that. So they're insiders, right? They know the 9/11. Again, if you take 9/11 literally, you're getting lost in translation. You're not getting to the heart of matters. 9/11 is ritualistic, symbolic in nature. And so Radiohead knew this. So when I was on the Dodo search, not to search too much, but one thing I was thinking, well, Radiohead possibly have something to do with this. So I typed in Radiohead and the Dodo, right? And to my amazement and a good laugh at it, it was a what the fuck. I was reading about, and here's the link. This is why I'm talking about this now. Here's the link for the derp hunter. The derp hunter, eh? It's a busy profession you chose for yourself, man. So here's the link. And it's there somewhere anyway. Pocket, where's that link gone? Sorry. Okay. Could I had it there a minute ago now. What did I do with that? I had it there somewhere now. Shit, anyway. I don't know where that's gone now. I'll have... No, I can't just tell that story and not post that fucking link now. Hang on. Where is that gone? Honestly, I had it there. I was waiting to post the link, the Derp Hunter, in the other chat, in Anthony's chat, but... I couldn't post the link, obviously, because I had no wrench. So here's the proof of the pudding. And what did you say you do? You'd run around naked outside for 10 minutes. Is that if it was true? Okay. That's all the pressure on me to find this now, but why isn't it? Maybe I have it in shit anyway. Okay, sorry about this now. You know, we're not good at I'll have to just reload it. Yeah, okay. We're not good at multitasking, are we? So I'm just looking for, oh yes, and another very interesting connection again tonight. Another brilliant. And again, this is what, there's no conversation that's wasted, like, I don't think. And again, when I call out actors, that's not to say that there's nothing to be learned from them. But I just know what they are. So I know that they're really limited in what they can and can't say. So you've got to sort of eke out the information in whatever way you can. Man, why the fuck is it showing up? No, I have it. Lovely. Now, so anyway, getting back. Fuck it. What did I do there? Oh no, I'm sorry now. Let me just, I know what I did now. I know what I did. White wine and sleeping pills help me get back to your arms. Cheap sex and sad films help me get where I belong. I think you're crazy, maybe. I think you're crazy, maybe. Right, I see what I did wrong. So here we go. Anyway, yeah, Tom York, Mum, if you're still there. Tom York, New York, Radiohead 9/11, Kid A. So anyway, I typed in the Dodo and Radiohead, and lo and behold, this link came up, which was amazing for different reasons, because I was talking to Dell about the significance of 420, and he had pointed out to me that if you take the 0 off, you have 42. We all know the significance somewhat of 42, but the fact that it connected to 420 was it's a no-brainer really, but I didn't spot it, so very valuable. But here's a link. So there's a link in chat. Hopefully let me just make sure that comes up. Yes, indeed it does. So I've yet to go through all of it, but when I just scroll down to the let me say number 6. Number 6 was all I needed to see. And as I said, I had done the research, first of all, knowing that Tom York was a major player in all of this. 9/11 was about flat Earth, paving the way for flat Earth. So I knew that there might be a big connection. But if you read number 6 there, and it had to be number 6 as well, didn't it? So I think you'll have to go with that. Let me just read it for people who haven't got the link up. Number 6, so it's 42 facts about, and again, New York, Old York, etc. Number 6 is Tom's brother Andy nicknamed Tom Dodo. Hey, he was nicknamed Dodo when he was a child. He was known as Salamander in school. Now, Salamander is also, again, ties in with the dodo. The dodo is all about describing the Earth, the real flat Earth, after deluge, after this destruction, right? So this is what you have now. Salamander is all about giving up limbs, for the sake of saving the central core. This is what happened. This is why we're in a broken system as it stands. This is not how the system was initially made or initially designed. So it's broken. And again, I know why rainbows came about. I know exactly why they came about. And yeah, absolutely makes sense why they wouldn't have been there before this destruction or this flood. So again, just to finish up on that point, yeah, the fact that Tom York's nickname was Dodo, of all things, is a crazy coincidence, isn't it? Or maybe it's not a coincidence at all. Of course it's not. No, of course it's not. So I don't know what you're going to do with that, derp hunter. Maybe you're going to have to hunt yourself, hunt your underpants, because didn't you say you were going to strip naked and run out on the street for 5 minutes if you were wrong or something like that? Maybe I'm mistaken with that. What do you reckon? Yeah, thank you, man. There you go. How about that then? And again, I was coming from that. Imagine me trying to explain that about Kid A. How many people know that about Kid A? Very few. Many people, first of all, know that 9/11 was a media hoax and a victim hoax. Very few. So again, even if you knew that, and even if you read this about Tom York, what significance would the dodo have if you weren't a flat earther? Even amongst flat earthers, what significance would the dodo have? See, again, it's a series of clues. Mark Sargent's clues, not the clues on the surface that he presented to you. He gave the same reason. He gave the same sort of story inspiration as the guy who behind IPEC 2 gave. He said it just came to him one night. Mark Sargent was mulling it over, looking over to disprove the globe, and suddenly, or not suddenly, he couldn't do it over the course of months, and then the clues just came out all of a one, night after night. Excuse me. No. This is a nonsense sort of cover story. You know, it doesn't work like that. But here we go. The clues, the clues that he offers are layered. So we're taking all the initial clues. All the initial clues are wrong. All of them. So again, you have to peel back that layer and see what he's really saying. You know, it's about decoding. But again, without. Okay. Mom, I asked you not to use the wrench so much. I don't think Derp Hunter, I've never met him before. So please don't, Mom, I ask you now, please don't. The likes of Derp Hunter, until he sort of starts getting all personal and disrupting everything, like the likes of Mark Taylor, or, you know, then we have to give somebody a little bit of leeway. I don't mind that. Again, there's always, people can always be swayed, you know. Let's not condemn everyone from the starting gate. People can always be swayed, and if they can't be, then they'll show their true colors anyway. And then I guess you can whip out the ban hammer. But again, only in extreme circumstances. Mark Taylor came in here under a different name, for instance. We know he's game. We know there's no purpose in having him around any longer. So that sort of thing is okay. Or any of those rude or you know, just provocative accounts that come in, you know, just shouting all shit words, etc. So that's the sort of, otherwise I really don't like wrenches. I've always been saying it, you know, and I've never used my own wrench, actually. The only time I used my wrench was, I think it was a Pancho Pete's chance. So he changed channel. So everyone came back in without a wrench, and I happened to be wrenched. So I banned or timed out Spurs for whatever 5 minutes, just for the laugh of it, you know, just because I could. And then Jimbo came in, and me and Jimbo, see eye to eye. So I thought that'd be quite funny if I timed him out for 5 minutes as well. But again, that's the only times I've ever used a wrench. And yeah, you know, I guess I know it is necessary on the whole. But again, really keep it to an absolute minimum. I would advise, you know, or that's the way I would like it anyway. So yeah, with Tom York there, another amazing connection with the dodo, Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson's death hoax, again on the surface hoax. So, you know, if I'm going to get kind of debating the literal aspects of these things, you know. No, I'm going to lose the meaning. I understood from the get-go that his death is a hoax. The character Dave appeared on Larry King or whatever the night of Michael Jackson's death. You know, so all these little clues are there. So anyway, Michael Jackson hoaxed death, and he left the scene, but he did still contribute from behind the scene. I'm absolutely sure of it. But when I, again, did the search, Michael Jackson and the dodo, do it yourself, Michael Jackson, the dodo. This interesting connection came up. This character came on the Twittersphere or something, and he started making waves about dance music and whatever, you know, started tweeting or whatever you do. And there was a suspicion among certain people, not that I know any of them, but that they were dealing with Michael Jackson here tweeting. And you'll never guess the name that this suspicion, the character came under. Well, you got it, the dodo. He was called the dodo. Again, this was just from a simple Google search, just making connections like that. And none of these things are coincidental. It's way beyond that. Just in case anyone isn't au fait with what I'm trying to say, let me do this. Actually, that's what I do, because it doesn't seem to be. Hang on now. Let me restore chat. I'm looking old. I have to. I'm looking old and battered. I have to trim up my beard and look after myself a bit better. But let me pop in the chat, and let me go briefly through what I'm. Okay. What I mean. Okay. Now. Oh yeah. Let me just. No, I'll do that in a minute. Okay. And heads up to Pete. Thanks to Pete there. If you look at Pete's Punch of Pete's channel, and the title of his hangout for today, yeah, you might see something. You might see something familiar. So I appreciate that, Pete. Now, if many others didn't, I appreciate it. So let me. Excuse me, I'm eating here, but. Okay, let me just talk you through this briefly, just in case anyone's confused. Okay, I hope you can see my screen. I'm just checking now. There you go, yeah, that's good. Say hello to the dodo. Okay. Now, just in case you're confused, flat Earth has a certain arrangement of land masses, right? You can take this as granted. And it's fixed. Here's the thing I was making the point the other day. On a globe, there is no east, west, north, and south. It's all in relation to north, right? So if I was to ask you to point east on a globe, but first of all, we're not on a globe, right? This is fantasy, but let's just go there in our imaginations. Now, like as science will tell you now, you meet some globalists who'll tell you this is the situation. If I ask him to point east, he'll point that direction, right? Roughly that direction, right? Same west, and point west, he'll point in that direction. South, north, right? Now, if I said to him, if I follow your finger, for as far as I go, will I always be going east? And he'll have to say no. You say you'll have to go with the curve as you go around, you know, as you travel the distance. So I'll say to him then, well, why do you point in that direction for east then? And he'll go, well, the compass tells me. So you're saying that the compass is telling you that east is in a position that you're after telling me it's not in the position it's in. And he'll have to go, yes. So we can see a blatant contradiction there. And it can't work, right? It doesn't work, because you might as well, if I wanted to point to east, it would be anywhere along the circle that it supposedly does around the Earth, you know. So you could point to any one spot, and you could say with equal validity that point is east, until you get all the way around to where east meets west. Here's actually brilliant. We've all heard that expression: east is east and west is west, and never the twain shall meet. Well, this is not true on the globe, is it? And these expressions don't come into common parlance without truth in them. On the dodo map, it's true, right? Because, let me, I hope you can see my cursor here, right? So on the dodo map, east is east, west is west. East is always one way. East is a straight line, right? All the way across. So let's just say this is east, west side, south side, north side. East is all the way across. East, 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 east. Like so, overlay a chessboard. East, east. West is back the other way. It's always going to be fixed. If you were living in Africa, let's say Africa is down here, and you wanted to travel to South America, which is over here, you will take one fixed course over land, right? As the crow flies, as the dodo flies. On a globe, you're doing a sort of a great circular route, but then again you're following the sun. The sun has no basis and no bearing on the land positioning, you know. But if we choose to navigate by the sun, well, then you have to take into account the great circle route, and this is what we do. This is what's happening now. Just to just to give you a clear idea, this is the contention. This is literally what we're seeing when we're seeing the body of the dodo here. Now, Australia is a different matter. You can leave Australia for a moment, but I can also deal with that. So what we're saying here is, and we know it literally as well, in any map system, if you look at any map, zoom into your country on Google, you'll see the map as you go in local, the map's laid out in a grid, right? So all the different individual countries' maps are laid out in grids, right? And then suddenly you zoom up, and everything is not laid out in the grid anymore. It's laid out in the longitude and the latitude coordinate system. Well, that's wrong, because we're dealing with a fantasy here again. There's only one straight line connection between any 2 points. That's always the quickest way. East is always east. West is always west. North is always north in direction. South is always south. North center itself is a point on the chessboard. It's the cross in the middle, right? So any point down here, up straight is north, right? Across is east. Across this way is west. From any point, it's the same grid, Cartesian coordinate system. This is where the square comes in. This is where the square comes in Masonic square and compass. Square is for the ground, right? Too. So we're to measure the flat Earth with grid coordinate system, right? So yeah, you can overlay a grid on this. And what I am saying to you is the body of the dodo here encompasses the major continents on Earth and the actual layout of these continents. Now, where the water begins and ends, we can fill in the gaps. So if we take it that South America is down here at the bill, right? We can relate to that. We can sort of see that. You know, we could see how America rises up. You can even see this sort of contour here of the bill. America rises up and rounds around. So here's the thing: Mexico curves over, and here, look, you can almost see America. You can almost see the top of Canada around here, you know what I mean? You can picture it. So again, it's just a different orientation, and everything still lines up pretty well when you think about it. So we have America here. Let's take the winged area as the north center. Then we have Canada connecting with Russia around here, coming down to China and India. And yeah, as we go around towards the Middle East here, and then Africa around, Africa around here, and Europe up here on by the wing again. Europe here, and then a quick hop over to America again. So this is the continental arrangements as encoded by the dodo. This is what I mean by that. Now, all we have to do is to get the actual continent sign. Now, Gleason's map is trickery. It's actually a joke, but one of the maps, yes, but at Gleason's has good information as well. It has it's reliable for time and for longitude, so they're telling you that. But one of the other maps will encode the actual continental sizes. Dodo encodes the relationship to them, and yeah, that's a matter of deciphering as well. This is where the Orlando Ferguson map comes into its own as well. Mark Sargent, another one of Mark Sargent's clues, he went along with the Orlando Ferguson map, which is a very strange choice to go along with. You know, I mean, we have a mishmash of all models with the Orlando Ferguson. You know, we have the flat, the globe, and the concave all sort of seemingly thrown into one. No, but this is encoded, you know what I mean? So in order to get an overall accurate representation of exactly what's going on our flat Earth, we need to combine different factors and different bits and pieces from different pieces of the puzzle, you know. But the dodo is a big piece, and that's my contention. Now, if you also look at the dodo, you can see it's sort of oval shape, can't you? When you fill in the gaps here, you just draw a general outline around it. It's an oval shape, and that is the way the sun travels around the Earth. in an ellipse form. You know, it's not circular. The Gleason's map is wrong in many different levels. And again, as I said, it's a joke. I am Dodo. It's pretty much, if you have the Gleason's map up in the wall, you're saying I am Dodo, you know, in a different fashion. So it's like one of those, I mentioned this before, it's like I am Charlie, you know, with the Charlie Hebdo. People who went out going, I am Charlie. Why? Because you've been fooled. you've been tricked, man, you know. You haven't used your own intelligence and investigated stories when they're presented to you. And if you can't see the, you know, if you haven't investigated, you can't see the flaws, or you can't see the possible hoaxery that might be going on. So by going blindly and bearing arms blindly, you're holding up a big sign to yourself and to others saying that you are a dodo. Yeah, so that's basically what I mean by that encryption. And it's there's a lot more to this. This has been refined very subtly and only recently as well by, I think, his Natural History Museum. And yeah, this is, as far as I'm concerned, exactly what the dodo is. The dodo never existed in reality. So therefore, everything associated with the dodo in terms of the script or in terms of anything written is encoded as well. And that's another big clue. And yeah, I won't expand on that, but that's the basic premise. And when you have again, like Tom York there, giving out those clues, you can be sure his name wasn't Dodo growing up as a nickname. You can be sure that if that was Michael Jackson texting or tweeting from the dead, that he picked a dodo for specific reasons, like, you know what I mean. So yeah, this bird has legs, and the whole story of the dodo as well is sort of ridiculous. We're all taught about it in school. I remember learning about it in school. A stupid bird, you know, if you're a fool, you're a dodo. So here's another connection. Dodo, April Fool's Day. April Fool's Day, April 1st, is the real beginning of the new year. It's when the sun, I think I know what the sun is as well, but it's when the sun starts its journey back, you know, and the real new year begins. You know, it's fun times ahead. Yeah, so that's April 1st, but they switched it back then into the middle of the dead of winter, you know, the January 1st. And in order to sort of effect that transition smoothly, anyone who still clung to the old ways and celebrated the new year in April 1st was called a fool. You know, the fool is a dodo. And again, dodo, a new year. It's connection. It's not. You're not going to say it's any proof of anything. But again, fool on a hill, dodo on a hill. You see, a dodo on a hill is the land masses of the earth which are sticking out above the waters. You know, we have to go along with certain things if we're just running with it. You know, that the earth was inundated at some stage. The earth was at one stage much more land, so maybe 80%, 20% land, completely reversed. I think it's not difficult for us to imagine the whole Mediterranean Sea not being there, you know what I mean? And so if you sort of apply that worldwide, and this is where the dodo came into it as well. I imagined in my brain taking away much of the water, you know, and seeing what sort of shape the land masses would more clearly make. And it's then that the dodo popped up, you know? So, yeah. All of these things are connected in that sense. So you have to sort of go along with one and see where that takes you without either accepting it or rejecting it, you know. And yeah, as I said, if you weren't aware of flat Earth, what connection would you see with Tom York and Dodo there? You wouldn't make that connection in a million years. Why would you? You know. So again, it's all scripted. Again, it's a big puzzle. Mark Sergeant Prepper, they're all involved in the puzzle. It's only when we have certain keys that we can look back and see these different encoded videos in a different manner, you know. It was like me and Del showing the Beautiful Day by U2, which came before 9/11. But it's all laid out for you there, you know. You can see it after the fact. So it's definitely something to consider, but I have more stuff than that on the dodo. It used to be called the wallow bird, and it was as a remembrance for man's destruction against nature. Now, again, we have the narrative where the dodo bird was so silly that it couldn't cater or protect itself, or didn't know any better to protect itself from these murderers who were killing its family. And every species recognizes its own, make no bones about it, you know. So yeah, the wallow bird then representative of man. So I'm thinking man might have done this to themselves as well, or if man didn't do it, someone is responsible for this destruction. But we wallow in pity, or we wallow in sadness, or whatever, you know what I mean. So this is the wallow bird. It's remembering what has happened to get us into this situation. And again, for me now, 400 years, I can even pinpoint maybe, well, yeah, I'd just say a little over 400 years, everything was different. Absolutely everything was different. There's no rainbows before then. Like, I know why as well, you know. So yeah, this is the realm we're into, and people know about the dodo. I'm absolutely sure about it. I'm absolutely sure about it as well. So again, this is a puzzle we're trying to put together, and this complete solution is already known, you know, by some. Maybe all these bowlers, all these people who are really accused of being actors and agents, or know all of this and know that these truths are good, not just this, maybe this thing, but you know, everything else is coming out as well. So in the meantime, they're playing their part in getting you to fucking think and getting you to hone your understanding, you know. And this is definitely the way I consider it possible, you know. I do look upon it like that. So yeah, that's just a diversion. That's pretty much where the dodo bird, and let me just finish on that by saying that I had a question for both bowlers and flat earth people. I asked Antonio Subres this. I said, on time and date, we have the west coast of Brazil and the east coast of Chile listed in the same time zone. And I said to him that in one of his maps, his variation on the Gleason's map, he swung South America clockwise, if you will, pivoted at the top. So he made it more extreme. He made it more unlikely for Chile, the east coast or the west coast of Chile, to be in the same time zone as the east coast of Brazil. So yeah, the ball Earth can't answer that. There should be at least two or three, at least three, maybe time zones. Chile should be 3 hours behind. But again, on the Gleason's map, it's pretty much the same. It should be 3 hours behind. On Antonio's variation, again, you're talking about the same thing. Look at the dodo here. Look at the dodo. If the sun comes around, zooms around here, well, here we have Chile. Here we have the east coast of Brazil. They're pretty much on the same line, aren't they? Isn't that interesting? You know? So, certain things are solved, and you know, again, I've mentioned a few times that the Nile flows from east to west. So if you take Africa here, the Horn of Africa, or sorry, the southern Horn of Africa down here, and the western hump of Africa here, we can see that the Nile would origin down here and flow east to west acrossways, east to west. So north is in the center, across the chessboard. East is always the tiers going horizontal, and west, east and west, east and west. North and south are the vertical tiers, you know. So again, that's all I had to say about that for the moment anyway. So anyone who hadn't a clue what I was talking about, I think you might have a little bit of a better clue. Funny enough, look at the tail feathers here, right around Mauritius, where the dodo is said to originate. Just another interesting little factoid. The dodo was said, in very first descriptions, the dodo was said to be, just a sort of an oblivious bird who had no seeming care for his own safety, you know, never seemed to run when faced with danger. But it was described as being found, when it was discovered first, found and also an area inhabited by many giant turtles. Now, all us flat earthers are aware of the cartoon picture. The Terry Pratchett, I think, I don't think he was responsible for it, but he brought it to sort of modern life with the Discworld series of events where you have the flat earth swimming around on the back of a giant turtle. So again, you have the dodo and the giant turtle connection there. And again, if we take it that the dodo never existed, you know, and I'm certain that's the case, that, you know, then everything is in reference to a different, everything is in reference to a reality. And yeah, so we can decode or potentially decode everything that's both written and referenced with the dodo. So yeah, very interesting line of inquiry with that. So I leave it there. The dodo. Oh, just to say a few other connections actually with the dodo. Dude, the word dude. It do what it do. Someone was saying it tonight. I made the reference to 420. I asked a question around, anyone really know what 420 is about? Well, a doob, someone pointed this out to me as well tonight, which is what I'm grateful for. A doob is a joint. Is a cannabis. Like smoke with cannabis. And a doob is when you reverse, you get dodo, and you reverse the last two letters, you get a D-O-O-B. And I was very grateful for that connection, because I know it's all connected, you see. So yeah, I'll leave it at that for the moment. So anyone who wasn't clear what I was sort of hinting at when I was mentioning the dodo, I hope that clears it up a small bit. So. Okay, man. Oh, nice one, Steve. You can't unsee it now. Okay, cool. Voice a bit hoarse, but shit. I see. I don't like. Are we doing okay in chat? I hate. God. I don't like chats. I don't like wrenches. So I ask you again, anyone who has a wrench, just please be lightweight on it. And only extreme cases use it. I think that's fair enough. That's what I've always said from the start, and that's the way I'd like to think it. Again, we know the arena we're in, so anyone who's just clearly a time waster and an actor, we can get rid of them. But otherwise, be gentle. But hey, Casper, man, how you doing? How you doing? So I leave the dodo there, but there's plenty of scope for research into that, and I have plenty of other little clues and hints as well that this is the case, and you can see exactly that this is the way they would do it. Again, flat Earth, flat and stationary Earth is a gimme. You know, it's been known all along. It stands to reason. And the ball is busted a million ways. Again, you know, just getting it back to basics. If the Earth is stationary, the ball doesn't enter the equation. So we can leave everything behind. Now, we're still on our quest for truth to find out the actual truth. So why we waste our time, speaking of myself, because of course I've been through it as well, but why we waste our time going back over these self-same arguments, when all it is fruitless. Like, you know, it doesn't take us anywhere. But one thing it will do, though, is it will, of the honest investigator, hone your skills. It will hone your thinking. And I guess everyone is at different sort of levels in terms of time. You know, some of us have been in these hangouts for almost a year now, and into Flat Earth for much longer than that. But other people are just coming in. So what do you do there? It's a fine balance. That's what I wanted to mention earlier on as well, actually. Chris F.E. Jackson. Chris F.E. Jackson, eh? So he comes on to Jamie Brown's hangout, of all places. A new flat earther just realized the Earth was flat barely a month previously, and decided that he owes something to humanity, and it's his mission now to pay whatever back. I think this is all rhetoric. The second almost I heard him talking to Jamie, I said, that's your man. And just the more I listened, then more I was certain of it, you know. And yeah, I called him out on air for being a paper explanator, who's finally come on camera. So This guy has played a few characters around, and now he's in Flat Earth. So he's going. Paper Explanator, for anyone who doesn't know, is Ball Earther, just one of his stalwart antagonists, constant ridiculer. So he's well known, and now he's back. Now Paper is back as Chris Effie, a Flat Earther. So completely polar opposite position. And yeah, this is the way to do it. He's finally shown himself on camera. I take that to mean that we've entered into the sort of end game, in a sense. I'm not going to get engaged with him. I don't give a shit, really. I'm done with that. You can see what he's sort of at. He was on Doomweaver's show the other evening, talking about what he was talking about. But yeah, I'm satisfied that it's him, 100%. I was asking Delqua, Joe. He knows the story. He was there in Fakeologist back in 2012 and before, and 2013. So he knew Evil Edna, Psyopticon. He heard him. He talked to him, etc. He knew Paper Explanator. He heard him, talked to him, etc. And he knew my thoughts on Chris F.E. Jackson and that it was a Paper Explanator. And he did his own inquiry. And he agrees to 95%, his own figure, that it is the same man as well. And again, it's not just a voice, because there is voice changers and there is voice modification going on. So the idiosyncrasies that give you away, the little laughs, the little the way you call people by their names, or certain things like that would give the game away, So you're busted, Chris, and just to let you know anyway, I said that to your face, and I don't need to prove it to anyone else, just letting you know that. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about earlier on when I was listening to You've Been Exposed. This young child, Near is his name. He keeps coming back. Dread keeps letting him back, and so it's a farce at this stage. I told him already that the child, who's not a child at all, Near, he's an actor. He was a character, Look a Pig. Anyone doesn't know Look a Pig? Yeah, well, he was sort of involved in these hangouts. Another troll, another Agent Chill. I was saying that Near was Look a Pig, but I didn't realize that Look a Pig could have been someone else as well. And it's only when I heard him last night on the show, it's Negatory XX. So Negatory XX is playing the part of Look a Pig, who hasn't been around in a long while, and then now this kid Near is back as well. So yeah, Negatory XX busted again. What can you do? These people, you'll never see their faces. You won't get any names. So who are you dealing with? You're dealing with another ghost, Casper. So it's best not to get too involved. But anyone with ears to hear can at least bear it in mind anyway. But for me myself, I'm satisfied that's the case. Again, once you develop an ear for this, it's the same person talking, you see, but depending on what you're talking into and what sort of settings you have that on, you can create different effects. But again, you can't change the natural cadence. You can't change certain idiosyncrasies about your voice, especially when you're in conversation, you're sort of under pressure in a sense to answer or whatever, And yeah, so there you go. Just another one busted. So I don't mind saying that. I know people go, oh yeah, everything's fake to Pichet, but listen, it is what it is. It do what it do, So how you doing? I am FaZe. Nice to see you there. Anyone who wants a link or anything, let me know. I'm staying on for too much longer. Again, just wanted to fucking, this Manchester thing now is getting on my nerves. I had all these battles back in 2012, 2013, all the way up actually. Anything to do with media fakery is resisted to the utmost, even in terms of flat earthers. So many flat earthers are, and they're so disappointing in the sense that we should all be fucking calling out this fakery for what it is. I mean, this is exactly the fakery that is having this effect on the masses, So if we can sort of unite and just call out the truth for the truth, then maybe voices will be heard a lot more. And people like me won't be fucking ostracized not ostracized so much, but you know what I mean, just the things that we're saying. What's wrong with saying you have to look into media fakery now, or you have to call out fake terror or fake death when you when you come across them, or when you see them, or when they're made so clear for you to be able to make the call, you know. So this is a worrying puzzle. Yeah, excuse me a minute. I'm just gonna have a cigarette, take a little break. I'm not gonna stay on for too much longer anyway. Okay, I'm just going to play a little song, and then I just have one or two more things to say. 'Twas on one bright March morning, I bid New Orleans adieu, and I took the road to Jackson Town, my fortunes to renew. I cursed all foreign money, no credit could I gain, which filled my heart with longing for the lakes of Pontchartrain. I stepped on board a railroad car beneath the morning sun, and I rode the roads till evening, and I lay me down again. All strangers here, no friends to me, till a dark girl towards me came, and I fell in love with my Creole girl from the lakes of Pontchartrain. I said, my pretty Creole girl, my money here's no good. If it weren't for the alligator spiders that sleep out there in the wood. You're welcome here, kind stranger. Our house is very plain, and we never turn a stranger out at the lakes of Pontchartrain. She took me to her mommy's house and treated me quite well. The hair upon her shoulders and jet black ringlets fell to try and paint her beauty. I'm sure it would be in vain. So handsome was my Creole girl from the lakes of Pontchartrain. I asked her if she'd marry me. She said that would never be, for she had got a lover who was far off at sea. She said that she would wait for him, and true she would remain till he returned for his Creole girl to the lakes of Pontchartrain. So fare thee well, my bonny girl, I never will see you more, and I'll ne'er forget your kindness at the cottage by the shore, and at each social gathering a flowing glass I'll raise and drink a health to my Creole girl at the lakes of Pontchartrain. And at each social gathering a flowing glass I'll raise and drink a health to my Creole girl at the lakes of Pontchartrain. Yeah, lovely. I only realized recently that her mummy's house is a whorehouse, a prostitute's den. So I sort of changed the song for me. My voice is not the best. So I was a bit late as well, but yeah. Okay. Lakes of Pontchartrain, of course, and the bridge of Pontchartrain, often quoted by flat earthers as sort of a proof of no curvature. And of course it is. There can be no curvature where there's no curvature. You know, it's a fantasy. And again, Bowler is always talking about the sun. Because the sun does this, that means the earth is flat, because you can't explain it in your model, but they'll always tell you that your model has to or most flat earthers go along with the sun being 3,000 miles away. You see, but they have to include all of these stipulations as well. And the sun is no more 3,000 miles away from me anyway than I am from my computer. The sun is right there, and the sun is not at all what they think we think it is, or even we think it is. You know, so yeah, none of these things can work. Yeah, regarding the dodo and the chessboard, again, east is east, west is west. Never the twain will meet. Never the twain will meet if east is going that way. If east is going that way and west is going that way, if you keep going that way, you're not going to meet. That makes sense. But if you're following the circuit of the sun, then east and west become one. You know. But what's going on up there has no bearing to what's happening down here. This is where the square and compass come into it for me, and big G. The square is on the ground, right? The compass represents the sky. Square is linear. It's grid-like. It's Cartesian coordinates, right? And again, the sun, because it's on a circular path, you have circle coordinates. And that's a separation. Now, the big G in the middle, I was wondering what the big G was about. And I think I know what that's about as well now. So it's all about the Earth. Yeah. So the big G in the center is, it's got to do with the sun and the movements, different movements of the sun, which will account for what we actually see in practice. We have to first describe the nature of the barrier. And again, the barrier is contoured, and it has to be contoured. We're not dealing with the projection onto a flat system, a flat barrier. But yeah, the sun is the be all and end all. Actually, the sun is everything. The sun is the sum total, and the G. Yeah, if you think about the G, you have a circular path, then you have an up path and a cross path. So the sun's movements are dictated by three separate movements. So we've got the spiral on the outside, we've got the upward movement, and then we've got the inward movement. So if you combine all of those movements on a regular, in a sort of a whole, it's like epicycles in a sense, like, but not quite. Yeah, this is what the G. Pretty convinced of it at this stage now. This is what the G is about. So I was thinking before it was some sort of a map or some sort of a code to the map. So I was thinking maybe if you combine that with the dodo, but no, it all connects, as I said. But yeah, this is what I think the G is about. It's describing the three different types of movements. 3 is the magic number. 3 different types of movements that the sun is going through. Now, what is the sun? Right. Well, I'm going to save that for another day. Yeah, here's where we have to, we've already discarded everything we've been told by officialdom. So we have to really open our minds to any possibilities. Again, what I have to say is backed up in myth and legend and different sort of written accounts strewn around, but also be it conversations I've had myself, sort of adding different factors in. But a big factor was the tides. Yeah, the ship's navigator telling me the tides always surge from the north. Tides come and go two times a day. So if we think about just that movement of water, then that's monstrous. It's a massive, massive movement, and it's a continuous movement of water as well. I was thinking about this all the way along. They say the moon causes the sun's tide, or the moon causes the tides, the Earth's tides. What if the tides cause the moon? Because everything is reversed. That was my initial thinking, and it does. The tides do cause the moon, in a sense. We have to define what the moon is or isn't, for that matter. But yeah. When you're thinking about in terms of, if this is a reality, that you have these billions and billions of tons, trillions of tons of water moving on a sort of consistent level, breathing in and out. Imagine the water going down the drain. Imagine you putting a top in there or something, seeing how it would spin. On such a regular basis, you would have irregular patterns, and I think this is what we're seeing. And it's not just one type of movement. It's 3 different types of movements combined. Again, when you combine that against the contoured barrier that we're dealing with, a watery barrier, electromagnetic barrier, that is a perfect mirror in any real sense. So when you're introducing a light into that environment, you're getting all different types of effects. We look up at the moon. I heard someone mentioning tonight, it looks like a rock to me. Well, how would you know what a rock looks like in space? How would you know? How would you know? You wouldn't, would you? Everything outside, everything away from the Earth, we've been pretty much supplied images of and told what's what. We've come to find out that none of these descriptions are true. So how would you know that looks like a rock in space? So the chances are you're wrong. If it looks like a rock in space, we know chances are it's not a rock in space, so we have to reconsider everything. Yeah, but again, it's in the realms of utter fantasy, isn't it? I mean, this is the thing about going about proving this. Very difficult thing to do, but I think I'm on to a proof, a potential proof anyway. And if it does prove it, and I'm most afraid to go near it, But if it does prove it, there'll be no denying it. You know, everyone will be able to satisfy themselves and check it for themselves and see that it is the case, and then that just blows everything out of the water. I think it's pretty easy. I think it's pretty fundamental as well. But yeah, it's maybe what we're waiting for. Maybe this is it's again, like most other truths, sort of in your face all the time. You know, it's always been there, but it's just about changing your perspective, looking at things in a different manner, and then seeing through the fog, maybe. Yeah. So these are the areas where I think we should all be. We should be heading towards. Like, you know, we know NASA's busted a million times over. You know, it's the point in flogging that dead horse. Even with now, obviously, I recommend we talk about flat Earth to everyone we come across, and I do that myself as well. Which is one of the first things I say. You know what I mean? Especially your children. Yeah, but no point in talking to universities. There is none, absolutely none. They're part and parcel of the system. I was saying this to Dell the other evening. Who's there to appeal to, really, when it comes down to it? The authorities that were there to appeal to in case of any injustices, they're the perpetrators. They're part and parcel of, you know, the system that is perpetrating these lies and hoaxes upon us, you know. So we can't appeal to them. It will just be brushed under the carpet, you know. So again, we have to rethink who we're really appealing to, and this is where I really don't take back anything I've said. I think we should all unite, not just in flat Earth, but again, media fakery is a big sort of uniting point. It's so ubiquitous, and it really is backing one of the major weapons and tools in their arsenal. So if we all united on that, you know, a united front, then many more strides would be made, you know. And again, when you combine that with legal name fraud knowledge, again, it's just about the knowledge, you know. What you do with it is it's irrelevant, really, but, you know, it's about the knowledge of it. And if we combine all of this as well, and we always stand as man when we're dealing with any of these so-called authorities who always take a vow of subservience to us, well, then we'll have a different future to walk into, I think, you know. And yeah, we have to take everything in a sort of a bigger picture sense. We can't just isolate ourselves in some points, I think, and just stick to that. I can't anyway. You know, and I don't think that that's what we're meant to do. It's, I think, ultimately all about realizing our individual potential and truth, our individual truth about ourselves. As I quoted the last verse from Motion Picture Soundtrack, beautiful angels torn apart at birth, limbless and lifeless. I hardly recognize you. I think you're crazy, maybe. I think you're crazy, maybe. I will see you in the next life. You know, it's a different story being told there as well. So yeah, and who knows then, if we all step up to the plate and start acting as we truly are, you know, who knows what sort of responses we will get from those in power. Maybe that's what they're waiting for. Maybe this is the game ultimately, you know what I mean? So, but I do see it as coming towards, I've been waiting for the end for, seems like an eternity now. But yeah, as the days go by now, I have a definite date in mind, for good reason as well, and everything seems to be moving in that direction as well. One thing I will predict is more and more craziness, more and more ridiculous, and more obviousness to the fraudulence that's been foisted upon us, whatever form that might take, you know, whether it be form of media stories, whether it be form of government activities, all this sort of stuff, you know. So yeah, we're living in pretty amazing times. Let me just go back to the chat. Let me just go back to the chat and see if there's anything else. There can be any questions or anything like that. Just let me know. How you doing, John? Good to see you, man. Chris Topher, I like it. How you doing, Chris? Um, Mrs. Sergeant Flatballs. Mrs. Sergeant Flatballs. That's good. How you doing, buddy? And Mr. Universe, how you doing? I've had some dealings with you before, but yeah, hope you're well. Um, yeah, Mrs. Sergeant Flatballs. The funniest name I think on the internet is Ginger Sugarbush. That's just hilarious. Ginger Sugarbush. You know, that's hilarious. Just brings to mind this hilarious image to me. But yeah, Mark Sargent. Yeah, Mark Sargent Pepper. I'm going to put that link in chat as well. I do that every time. Anyone who's interested in this greater puzzle that's been presented to us needs to look at this thread. It's the solution to Sergeant Pepper's. And Dell was saying last week as well, Sergeant Pepper's has been the news. I don't have BBC or facilities to watch those programs, but Sergeant Pepper's is a program on been shown at the BBC or something around this time. So I don't think any of that's coincidental. So anyone who's interested in I guess, what do you want to say? It's a big treasure hunt, really. This is what they talk about. The very opening line in that thread talks about this big treasure hunt, which connects Edgar Allan Poe, Lewis Carroll, Edgar Allan Poe with the Raven. If you can make that connection. Now, when you look at the Gleason's map, the first thing you see, the superficial thing you see, is a raven, blackbird. You know, up and so that sort of connects there to Edgar Allan Poe, blackbird with its sort of head pointing up and perching up on something. Edgar Allan Poe and the Raven, which connects to Lewis Carroll and through the Looking Glass and Alice in Wonderland, and which connects to Mark Sargent, Sergeant Prepper. You know, Mark Sargent only put out one document, no internet presence before the clues. And one document was Prepper's Guide. So he's telling you, Mark Sargent Prepper, Sergeant Preppers, right? Then to help you along, you have David Weiss coming along with his screen name, Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. You know, you might think those are vague connections, but if you read that thread, you'll see that they're explained a lot more comprehensively, and there's some fiendishly clever stuff going on here. You know. I always think, though, I did think if I was ever write a puzzle, and I know this is how the mysteries are written as well. You know, you start at the end, so you have the solution, and you can work the beginning around the end. You know, so fiendishly clever from our point of view. But if you have the solution first of all, and that's how you're constructing everything, not as clever as first given credit for. Then you know what I mean. So yeah, everything ties in. And yeah, don't get stuck. We're getting stuck in so many niches that are presented to us, you know, so many different shelves, and we're not being encouraged to move on from there. But I encourage everyone to move on from there, because there's a much greater picture to be found yet. Yeah, don't let anyone put you in any box. And I'm not telling anyone anything. All I'm doing on these sort of discussions is just sharing my thoughts. You can take it for what you will. I wouldn't dream of telling anyone or pushing my views upon anyone. I'm just expressing where I'm at in terms of my overall understanding of what might be going on. That's all it is. But definitely a lot of things are sort of fitting together. And yeah, it's looking. Yeah, it's looking. Well, I say it's looking. I don't know, man. It's looking that there's a history there that, I don't know, was devastating to some major degree, and whatever we're going through now, whether it's self-imposed, because we don't know the greater picture, you see, or whether it's self-imposed or whether it's imposed upon us, this existence, you know, don't know. That's one that's still definitely up in the air. This could all be a simulation, you know. This could all be a tiny part of our overall reality. So this is just Mickey Mouse stuff, you know, in terms of greater experiences or greater essences, natures that are there to be had, you know, not to be realized. So yeah, but it does seem that something catastrophic happened anyway in the not too distant past, and it changed everything. And the sun became all, even though in its initial form it wasn't as we see it now, you know. And once I maybe next time go along, maybe not next time as well, but once I go along to give you my idea what the sun is, and possibly, yeah, possibly with maybe some proof as well that what I'm talking about is true. Yeah, then we might be able to understand a lot better, or it might sort of gel together more coherently. So that's pretty much it, friends. I don't have much more to say. There isn't too many watching anyway, which again is fine by me. I don't mind. I know there's other people on as well. Jamie is on. Oh, there's Jesus, loads of people on. Flat Earth, another Hot Potatoes is on as well. Oh yeah, Flat Earth, another crumbled cookies, all tangled up in blue. Okay. Pancho Pete is on it by the looks of it. 42 viewing as well. That's cool. Jamie is on. I love Jamie. Just beware, Jamie. If you know, just beware, man. Beware. This is all about open discussions, and when we're being restricted, well, it's certainly not for me anyway. You know, I think in terms of flat Earth talk, how often can you talk about flat water? You know what I mean. This is how often can we talk about the basics? How long are we going to argue with the same old faces, with the same old questions, with the same old posers? You know, I don't see us getting anywhere with that. As again, at this stage, we know we should just know that the Earth is flat and stationary. Now, beyond the certain bounds, we don't know, so we can sort of leave that as it is. So then, if we're looking for a greater personal explanation for what's going on, then we must take the baton from there. We don't need to go justifying to these ballers who come back and week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out, with the same questions, the same argument, the same apparent passion. It's not right, man. Come on, you know, you don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to work out that this is not right. This is not how honest people behave, you know. Ask one of them, did they ever seriously consider the flat Earth model? And they'll, you know, did they ever try to, I asked Cara, did you ever try to model just a flat Earth model to the best of your capabilities, you know, working with everything you have, and you know, nah, bullshit answer, like, you know, their heart isn't, it's not that their heart isn't, they're doing a job, man, they're doing a job, you know, they know the truth. I'm absolutely convinced that they know the Earth is flat and stationary. I'm absolutely convinced beyond certain levels, they all know about the dodo, they all know about the sun. You know, they all know about the contoured barrier. They know about the confines, the extremities. They know about all of this stuff, you know. So yeah, I don't think it's fruitful at this stage anymore, especially for someone like Anthony Riley, who I think is a decent, genuine guy. You know, I really do. But he's just getting fucked around, really, by these guys. And I don't know if he's not seen it purposefully or whatever, but yeah, the one thing, again, I say is that he definitely will hone his own skills and understanding as to what might really be going on. But in terms of offering any proof to these people, these crowd, they're deniers. They'll deny everything. You could plant undeniable proof in their laps, and they'll still deny it to you. You know, they sing from the same hymn sheet in every conspiracy as well. Official story for our followers. You know, you mentioned the possibility of fake media stories or fake victims in any of these terror hoaxes, and you're an insensitive bollocks, like, you know, because what about the families and what about the children of the families, all this sort of stuff, you know. So they give the game away in so many different ways. But yeah, I guess again, I'm not calling to sort of not deal with any of these characters, but just be aware that, you know, you won't get very far, and you never will. And that's what these people are there for anyway. They're to sort of to catch the newbies coming in, you know, and they're keeping over the same questions again and again, to think of it in a positive sense. It's the new investigator that's coming in is honing his own or her own understanding. And ultimately, that's what's needed as well. I think it's been said before, I don't talk about flat Earth that much. Well, that's not true. That's not true. I can talk about flat Earth with anyone, and I have done that. You know, again, just in my own mind, as you maybe can hear from the conversation tonight. And beyond that, I know the Earth is flat and stationary, and even that, I can even think about that. You know what I mean? If there's no space out there and there is a watery barrier, what's our relationship to that watery barrier? If we're in a big sort of, let's say, protected bubble, like the what do you call that bubble? Prisoner. Remember that prisoner bubble back in the 70s, 80s, sort of TV program. But if we're in a bubble and there's waters beyond, I mean, are those waters infinite? Are we actually moving within those waters? If we were, would we know, like we're within that bubble, you know, would we know we were moving if we were contained? You know, so all of these different questions. Is honeycomb Earth? This is another thing. What was the Earth? One honeycomb, one spherical model en masse, you know, at some stage, and now we are just a localized flat section, isolated from the other sections because of this catastrophe that happened. You know, these are different questions, and I definitely entertain these possibilities. But yeah, there's, you know, that's really gone into the realms of wild speculation, because there's really no way to prove certain things about that. There is ways to prove what I'm talking about at the minute. With the dodo, for instance, more research, and maybe communal effort as well. I'm predicting will show this is exactly the case. This is what the dodo is. It's a real representation of the land, the actual land masses, and the relationships to one another. Scaled, ultra scale as well. So, you know, certain things there will be evidences for, and we'll be able to make a call. But other things, then we'll have to wait, I think, you know, what exactly the system is, what exactly is powering it. Yeah, all different questions. And yeah, but all these questions become pertinent then when you move beyond the basics to say that the Earth is flat and central. We're not going to waste our lives just trying to prove that water always behaves in a certain fashion, are we? You know, yeah, that doesn't seem to be the way to go. But again, everyone to their own. Everyone to their own. And needs must, it's a lonely old station anyway. We're stuck with ourselves and our own thoughts for the most part, with very few to share them with. But that's maybe the way it has to be as well. But yeah, I think the answers are definitely coming out on all sides, and the truth is out there. It's a matter of just putting the pieces together in the correct manner, of course, and hoping for the best. Yeah. So. Yeah, a lot of things to think about. And on that note, I'm going to call it a day. And I say goodnight to all, and thank you for listening. There was the last chat with Dell didn't go up, I don't think, because there's some copyright material. We played a song from the Foo Fighters, and it was banned blocked worldwide on that basis. But that was a good old chat, and we'll do that again, me and Del, and anyone else again in future wanting to join. Just send me a message or something. No problem at all. Good to have you on, Casper, if you're listening, or even Brian in Dublin. No problem. So I'm going to call it a night and say that's the end from of Flat Earth and Other Crumbled Cookies, all tangled up in blue. And we are ever nearer. That's one thing I'm absolutely sure of. And I'll say goodnight on that note. So take it easy and see you the next time. Thanks, guys. Love you, Steve.